Alright, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. So, the cover-up begins. The denial begins. The people who are the hosting nation, or should I say the citizen nation of the individuals who were found in the wheel well of the JetBlue flight, the two bodies, nobody wants to claim them now. Today, headline says, those two bodies are not Jamaicans. There are a lot of Jamaicans on social media right now who are rejoicing, and rightfully so, who are saying, I knew it, because Jamaicans couldn't be so stupid. Why would any Jamaican want to travel to the United States of America that way? Another person said, Jamaicans will go to the US any other way except for that way. Jamaicans not so dumb, or not so dunce, or not so stupid. In all fairness, as a Jamaican myself, we've seen Jamaicans do stupid things many times over to have us scratch our heads and wonder what could have possibly brought you to that, right? So let's not start talking about Jamaicans would never. And now, today, the update only in Jamaica's news. Notice I said only in Jamaica's news is that these two bodies are not Jamaicans. I'm going to need everybody listening to this to put on your thinking caps, to think outside the box, and to reason with some intelligence like we do right here on SouFLoTV. Go ahead and click that subscribe button, please, and let's get right into the story. First of all, let's say this. It was CBS News yesterday, because y'all know I like to cite my sources. So it was CBS News yesterday that said that in Jamaica, the news is that. And then I went to the Jamaica News and I found and verified the information that the CBS News had printed. Here's a piece of what it said. It said that the plane began its day in Kingston, Jamaica, according to Transportation Security Administration. It then flew to JFK in New York from Jamaica. Then it flew to Salt Lake City, Utah, and then it flew back to JFK in New York before it then flew to Fort Lauderdale in Florida, according to Van Cleve, who said that the plane had actually overnighted in Kingston, Jamaica, after arriving from JFK on January 5th. This plane took a lot of flights. This plane originally came to Jamaica from JFK. They decided they were going to stay the night in Jamaica, and the plane overnighted, sat on the tarmac, did not move, did not do a flight. When a new day started, the plane took off from Jamaica and it flew to JFK in New York. Then from there it flew to Salt Lake City, Utah. Then from there it flew back to JFK in New York. And then from there it flew to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where the bodies were discovered. This is very important information for you to pay attention to. Noting, they also said that it is protocol for pilots to do a walk around of the plane before each flight, which means part of the inspection is to check the wheel wells as well. They also said that it is possible that the people who weren't immediately visible in this case, but they were there, like somebody looked but didn't see them even though they were there. Now, if it is standard procedure, in the military we call it SOP, standard operating procedure. If it is standard operating procedure for the plane to be checked by a walk around and the wheel well to be inspected visibly before each flight, this plane would have been inspected the night before it came, or the day before it came to Jamaica, or on its way to Jamaica. Then it would have been inspected after it overnighted in Jamaica when it was getting ready to go to the JFK in New York. Then it would have been inspected from JFK in New York when it decided that they were going to fly to Salt Lake City, Utah. Then it would have been inspected again in Salt Lake City, Utah when it was flying back to JFK, and then it would have also been inspected again when it landed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My audience, that brings to a total of 5 standard operating procedure inspections. 5. All right, now let's get on with the story. According to the Broward Sheriff Office, the deceased are both males, and beyond that, their identities are unknown. This is what the U.S. News, CBS News, says. In that same article, it went on to say that the Jamaica Observer is reporting the 2 dead bodies are believed to be Jamaican nationals. But CBS News in Miami themselves said, we have not independently confirmed that information. So I went over to the Jamaica Observer where I saw exactly what they said. On Tuesday afternoon, Kamina Smith, Jamaica's foreign minister, took to social media and posted on X, which is formerly Twitter. Quote unquote, she wrote, we have noted distressing reports in the media regarding the discovery of 2 deceased persons in the wheel well of an aircraft in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. While there is speculation regarding the nationalities of the persons found, our information to date is that this matter is still under investigation by authorities, with the identities of the deceased individuals yet to be officially confirmed. This is what she said today. So, now we fast forward back to, you know what this is to me? I hate to say this, but Jamaica has some of the laziest journalists that I've ever come across. Yeah, I just said that. The laziest journalists that I have ever come across. Because today's headline out of Jamaica sounds like this. Okay? It says, let's take the Jamaica Observer for example. Indications suggest dead JetBlue stowaways, not Jamaicans. Johnson Smith. This is the headline for the Jamaica Observer today. Indications suggest dead JetBlue stowaways, not Jamaicans. We're going to get into the indications that they're talking about, which to me are invalid indications. No one could ascertain from these indications the nationality of these 2 individuals. Now, mind you, I already said the quickest way to find out who these 2 individuals are would be to circulate their identity on media, be it social media connected to Jamaica, Jamaica TikTok, be it Jamaica YouTube, be it Jamaica the Gleaner, Star, Loop, all the entities that are used to carry the news. Somebody is going to see these 2 people and say, yo, that's my cousin. Yo, no John that. Yo, a Joseph and John that, We can identify them. Those are our family members, if they are indeed Jamaicans, right? I mean, that's a shot in the dark, but I think it should be the first step to trying to identify these 2 individuals. After all, like I said in the first video, obviously they were not found with IDs in their pockets, given their address, nationality, full names, date of birth, etc. So they remain John Does. But today's headline in Jamaica says, indications suggest deadbeat stowaways, not Jamaicans. We're going to get into the indications that suggest. And by the way, the article that said that the Jamaica News, the Jamaica Observer, is reporting the 2 dead to be believed to be Jamaican nationals, that was from CBS. And the headline for that is 2 people found dead in JetBlue plane landing gear at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. It was published at CBS News Miami by John McLaughlin. January 7th, it was updated 2025 at 6:27 p.m. Eastern Time. I send you this information so you can go and verify this information for yourself. 2 things. 1, many Jamaicans are now saying, I know they weren't Jamaicans. I knew it. Of course, consequentially, many Jamaicans are now also saying, you see how SouFLoTV love to run with bad news? The people them is not even Jamaican. You see where this goes? Okay. Irresponsible journalism. Now, let's get over to what today says. JetBlue stowaways' bodies were badly decomposed, raising possibility they were there for multiple flights. This is information that is coming out of the United Kingdom, not out of Jamaica news. JetBlue stowaways' bodies were badly decomposed, raising possibility they were there for multiple flights. It doesn't say raising possibility they are not Jamaicans. It says raising possibilities they were there for multiple flights, which from the first video we did, we said they were obviously there for multiple flights. We supposed, we suggested, we said maybe they flew from Jamaica to the US. And then when they were supposed to get off in the US, they were already dead. From cruising high altitude, freezing temperatures, lack of oxygen, all of the above. They had died by the time they got to their first landing, so they were unable to get out. Or maybe, just maybe, they were still alive and kicking and healthy and fine. However, they were looking at authorities walking around on the airport tarmac, and they decided, me better stay in here, so because if me come out now, them are going to arrest we, and then them are going to send we go back to Jamaica. So they stayed in there trying to hide, and the plane took off again. Right? We just said the plane did 5 flights before these bodies were found. And this is 5 flights from the point it left Jamaica to the point where the bodies were discovered in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I need you to put on your critical thinking cap at the moment. Back to this updated news published January 9th, Thursday, 2025. The bodies of the stowaways who rode to Florida in a JetBlue plane's landing gear compartment were reportedly decomposed when they were found by airport staff, according to a report. Decomposed. Now, I am not a mortician. I am not a holder of a PhD. I'm not a doctor. Anatomy and physiology, biology, all that other stuff I have not mastered. However, what we all know in common is that freezing temperatures slows the decomposition process. Right? Right. So, if this plane took 5 flights, that means this plane spent most of its time cruising high altitudes, which brought freezing temperatures, or landed and stayed for a while in freezing places like New York and also Salt Lake City, Utah. Brr, cold at this time of the year. So, now that the report is saying the bodies were reportedly decomposed when they were found by airport staff, according to a new report, is telling them the remains of the men were found on Monday inside the compartment after a JetBlue plane landed in Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. An airline worker was inspecting the landing gear when they stumbled onto the deceased stowaways. Again, put on your thinking cap. It is protocol, according to airport authorities, it is protocol for that part of the plane to be checked at every single flight. Not checked once a day, but checked at every single flight. So, where would there be time for two bodies to be decomposed when this area is checked every single flight? Mainly at least 5 times in this one day on the day which the bodies were discovered. A gate technician, now I know that went over a lot of people's heads, and it's no disrespect to you, you might be a little bit slow, but for those who have some common sense and some level of reasoning abilities, they will see exactly what just went on there. A gate technician in the landing gear area noticed 2 males who appeared to be what they call a signal 7. Advised, they are not moving in the landing gear area. Quote unquote, that's what he said in the radio. We have a signal 7. I believe we have a signal 7. They're not moving in the landing gear area. An unidentified individual said over a police radio during the incident. Signal 7 is a police radio code used to describe a dead body. Now, the flight departed Jamaica earlier in that day, like we said earlier. But let's not forget that that same flight overnighted in Jamaica before it left the following day, which means it spent the night sitting still on the tarmac in Jamaica. Now, if these 2 individuals are not Jamaican, let's think at a broader scope. Because I know for a fact that somebody is going to use this as an excuse. Well, maybe they are some of the Haitians who keep washing up on Jamaica's shores, and their plan was to make it from Haiti to Jamaica and then hop a plane from Jamaica to the US. Could even be some Africans who came across and went into Haiti and then from Haiti to Jamaica and now tried to make their way into the US. They don't necessarily have to be Jamaicans. Watch and see if this isn't going to be brought up later on. Anyways, as a reminder, the flight departed Jamaica earlier in the day. Never mind that that same flight came from JFK in New York the day before and spent the whole night on the tarmac overnighting before leaving in the morning. So that plane would have already been inspected in this area on its flight from JFK to Jamaica once, when and again in Jamaica while it overnighted there before it took off again the following day. So 2 inspections would have already been done if those individuals got into that place on the plane from New York. An anonymous law enforcement source has now told CNN News that the bodies were badly decomposed when they were found, which, if this is true, this likely indicates that the stowaways were on board that aircraft for multiple flights. Now, again, if it is protocol that this plane, every plane is inspected in this area for every single flight, how could they have been there long enough to be badly decomposed? And when they say that the 2 stowaways likely indicates that they were on board the aircraft for multiple flights, what do they mean by multiple flights? Is it the multiple flights from JFK to Jamaica, then from Jamaica back to JFK, and then from JFK to Utah, Salt Lake, and then from Salt Lake, Utah to Fort Lauderdale? Because that definitely is multiple flights. But that was all done in a 24 to 48 hour period, which bodies being exposed to freezing temperatures for an extended period of time would not have been badly decomposed in a 24-hour period. Again, that might have went over some people's head, but those with their thinking caps on know exactly what happened right there. I'm telling you, man, the cover-up is on. So, If they climbed into the landing gear compartment in Jamaica, they likely did not survive the plane's first stop. This is the new report I'm reading to you. This is not me saying this, but we sure as hell did say this yesterday in our first video. If they climbed into the landing gear compartment in Jamaica, they likely did not survive the plane's first stop. Like I said previously, that's the reason why they were unable to get out of the plane when they got to Florida. When they got to, the first flight would be from Jamaica back to JFK. When they got to JFK, they should have gotten out, but they were already dead, so they were unable to get out. Or maybe they were passed out from lack of oxygen and freezing conditions. They told us the plane was cruising at, I believe, 38,000 feet for over 2 hours, which in itself brings about freezing conditions in that compartment. The A320 aircraft departed from Kingston, Jamaica, just after 1 a.m. in the wee early mornings, where it flew to JFK International Airport in New York. It was below 30 degrees that day when the men were discovered, and would have been much, much, much colder at higher altitudes. The plane then flew from New York to Salt Lake City, Utah around 7:30 a.m. So you see, the plane was already sitting there, had already been through freezing weathers at 38,000 feet in the air, now was already sitting there for all of 7 hours in the freezing below 30-degree temperatures in New York before it took off for Salt Lake City at 7:30 a.m. and made a return flight just before 7 p.m., which means it just spent its entire day in freezing Salt Lake City, Utah, which was even more colder than New York's freezing temperature. So from 7, they arrived and then returned back 7 p.m. Its final flight of the day took the plane from New York to Florida, which has a bit warmer weather, where the bodies of the men were then found near the landing gear, or as was reported before, in the wheel well. The Transportation Security Administration is investigating the deaths with the help of local law enforcement and federal aviation. Of course, they've already released a statement saying this is a heartbreaking situation and that we are committed to closely working with authorities to support their efforts to understand how this could have occurred, per a news outlet or a statement issued by JetBlue to news outlets. Officials from the National Transportation Safety Board told CNN News that it would not investigate the incident because it did not involve the operation of the plane or the actions of the flight staff. This is the officials for the National Transportation Safety Board. They said that they would not investigate the incident because they did not involve the operation of the plane or the actions of the flight staff. Unfortunately, this is far from the only incident of stowaways dying in landing gear compartments. This has seemed to be a common, ongoing thing. I told you before that 2 weeks ago, a body was found inside of a compartment of the United Airlines flight between Chicago and Maui when they landed in Hawaii. The FAA says that stowaway likely overestimated how much room would be available to them inside of that wheel bay once the landing gear retracted. Stowaways who aren't crushed by the landing gear once it is retracted, they would have to survive on minimal oxygen, and they would have to avoid freezing to death once the jet reaches cruising altitude. So for all the people who are listening and are saying, is the lack of oxygen is not the freezing, it is a bit of both, my friend, because way up there in the air is freezing. That plane is traveling at hundreds of miles per hour at thousands of feet in the air. That wind is cutting sharp. The most likely country for wheel well stowaways used to be Cuba, often due to immigration of family reunification efforts. This is what the former Department of Transportation Inspector General Mary Schiavo has now told CNN during the News Central appearance on Tuesday, that the most common stowaways in wheel wells used to be Cubans. But the dangers are profound. Survivors may suffer long-term physical damage from the noise alone, lack of oxygen as well, or the freezing temperatures if they actually survive. According to the FAA, reports from 2011, approximately 80% of those who tried to stow away and hide in the wheel wells or other external jet compartments, they died. 80%. Okay, back to what we're saying now. Because, again, irresponsible journalism in Jamaica, saying that this is the revelation that was made by Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Kamina Johnson-Smith on social media platform X, which used to be Twitter. Further information received now indicates that the individuals are not Jamaican. We will, however, await formal reports as investigations continue. What further information could have indicated to this Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kamina Johnson-Smith, that these are not Jamaicans? What information? The plane overnighted in Jamaica. High possibility that someone who works at that leg of the flight in that department gave access to somebody. Highly unlikely that someone would have stowed away in a wheel well to escape the United States of America to get off in Jamaica. However, you never know, because thinking outside the box, maybe it's two guys who were wanted for murder, or two of America's most wanted who are facing years upon decades in prison in the U.S., and they're thinking escaping to Jamaica would be the best route. But of course, stops have been put at all ports for them, so they would have been identified. So maybe they chose to go this route and they ended up dying when they got to Jamaica. So they stayed in the plane overnight. This is my last resort and this is my last guess. If these two are not Jamaicans, these two are indeed individuals who are trying to escape the U.S. and get somewhere else. Maybe they're running from charges somewhere. But for Kamina Harris, the Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Kamina Johnson-Smith, rather, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Kamina Johnson-Smith, to say further information received and now indicates that the individuals are not Jamaicans, I've given you all the information, the further information she speaks of. None of it suggests that they are not Jamaicans. I'll say this again. In closing, these individuals, their identities need to be made available. Now, the funny thing is, after telling us about freezing temperatures, now they're telling us that they are badly decomposed. Badly decomposed, I am guessing, would mean to the point where it is almost impossible to identify the individuals. A cover-up. Who is covering up? Well, I know for sure that Jamaica does not want to be seen as a stowaway nation. We already have a lot of people who have escaped from Jamaica into other people's countries. It's one of the reasons that were given by the United Kingdom for not giving us the visa waive, so Jamaicans can just acquire a passport, buy a ticket, and fly into the UK. When asked, UK immigration authorities said that Jamaica already has a lot of Jamaican citizens in the UK, both legally and illegally. You know how that go already. We get a little visa, them say give you 6 months, we run off, them never see we again. We go there and we make life. And then we haven't been back to Jamaica in 10 years. And then by the time we get back, we're married and we're going back for some more family members. You know? So it's the same situation with the United States of America. Many Jamaicans are here, both legally and illegally already. Visa is required. However, nothing indicates that they are not Jamaicans. So shout out to the people who will crowd my comment section now to say, SouFlo, me tell you say them are not Jamaican, or I'm glad they're not Jamaican, or it was confirmed that they're not Jamaican. Let's get all on one page. Nothing has confirmed the identity of these guys. They don't know at the moment if these guys are Haitians who snuck into Jamaica and got on that flight. They don't know if these are criminals trying to escape the United States of America and left the JFK and landed in Jamaica, where the plane overnighted before it took off back to JFK the following day. They don't know they know nothing about the two people who were found. And again, I've said, put them on social media. I know, here comes the decomposed. Well, if they're badly decomposed, you can't put two decomposed bodies on social media. They should not be that badly decomposed that no one is able to recognize who they are. I'm gonna know my family member them when I see them. Unless they've been under the earth and them rotten up, or they've been sitting in a building somewhere hot for a week or so. I've seen bodies. Matter of fact, we covered a story about a Jamaican who works as a security guard. I believe it's in Trinidad, either Trinidad, the Bahamas, or one of those places, who recently died in his room. And it was a fellow friend of his, who I'm sure is probably listening to this video, who went and identified him. His body was swollen. Flies were everywhere by description. And he was missing for quite some time. Locked in that room, he was still identifiable. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm still sticking to these are Jamaicans. However, it's political times and politics at play, and nobody wants to admit that their citizens are now stowaways on commercial jets that are landing in their country. Just another issue to look out for. They already have issue with us as Jamaicans. Our police officers and our citizens have been caught smuggling, huge amounts of cocaine through this means, using these airplanes and airports. And now to know that people are also flying out in this manner, of course the first answer is they're not Jamaicans. We'll stay tuned and we'll see how this plays out. And remember, nothing changed about what I said in the first video. Jamaica is heaven on earth for some people, and it is hell on earth for others who probably would try to escape by any means necessary. Let's wait and let's see if the true identities of these two individuals will be revealed. This makes for a very interesting third video on this matter. Until then, hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.